It's been a few years that James and we haven't been to Spain because I think we don't really like to go on the beaten tracks, and Surana, Margalef, Oliana, everybody goes there, and we like to explore a little bit more in general. But recently we heard about Roca Verde. I couldn't even put it on the map.
Our trip to Roca Verde was always going to be a whistle-stop tour, but I think neither Caro nor I were quite prepared for how fast and action-packed it was going to be. Over the 6 days we were here, we visited so many new crags, so many amazing places through Cantabria and Asturias. It's sometimes we even totally forgot where we were.
Actually, we arrived the first day. It was already dark. It was a bit of a windy road, but we didn't really know where we were going.
Yeah, that's always a weird thing when you arrive in a new country, totally in the black.
We arrived in a small, very pretty hotel, all made in wood, and just had the first night, and just had to wait for the day to actually get an idea of where we were.
And then you wake up the next morning and look out the window, and it's just like, wow.
So we were in La Hermida Valley.
Grey limestone walls or yellow limestone walls where it's overhanging,
everywhere.
Tufas everywhere, and trees. That's maybe the most striking thing. Like, it's so green here.
Doesn't look like Spain, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Spain at all. I mean, the day was really an adventure. We got off to I can say now in hindsight, an amazing start, crossing this flooded river, but at the time it was quite scary, especially with my drone on my back. I was convinced I was going to slip and go in, ruining everything. But we made it across, and then hiked up this hillside following fixed ropes over some of the slippiest grass and mud, and all the time thinking, God, I hope it's going to be worth it. And well, you don't see the cave until right at the last minute. You pop over this little rise in the hill, and it's just immense. Look up and you see there's one line especially in the middle, and you're just like, God, I have to climb that thing.
It's perfectly bolted as well, and I mean that's fairly difficult, you know. We congratulated the bolter on every route that we were doing, all the routes of the valley, so obviously he knows exactly how to bolt perfectly.
And the amazing thing is he only started to bolt the cliff in June this year. The speed at which these guys here work, and hats off. So we woke up on the second day in La Hermida.
It was miserable. I didn't want to go out of bed. I thought we were going to have a rest day, actually.
But I forced Carolina to wake up because we were convinced that we could find something to climb.
We had a giant breakfast with frizuelos and
tostadas with cheese and ham and all the good things. Not even 5 minutes down the valley.
Even if it's raining, there's some bits that are really steep, and some of the tufa, they don't get wet.
5 minutes drive and 2 minutes walk, and you find a beautiful little dry cliff with 30-meter classic 7A to 7C wall climbs. It's just amazing. After finishing a couple of routes on this small cliff, I still quite hadn't convinced Carolina to climb. So I showed her some photos in the guidebook of a cliff called Po, which is underneath probably one of the most famous, iconic landmarks of the region, the Naranjo de Bulnes. And
we arrived there,
well,
and
yeah.
the clouds had just cleared out, and it was just shiny directly on the mountain.
Yeah,
and,
total contrast
and
to how we'd
the cliff is in
woken
the
up.
sun, and actually we
were almost too hot.
It was too hot walking up. And we start to climb in Po, and it's much shorter, but it's still very good quality rock again.
Yeah, full of amazing tufas, especially the last sector of the cliff.
In general, Po is mainly roots in the 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah. And we just climbed a load of the classics of the crags, and basically every route didn't disappoint. Massive hillside of rock, and you see this tiny cave, and you say, okay.
But then it's really steep, and there's just little caves everywhere.
It's
and
kind of a bit like Kalymnos, a bit like the Spartan Wall area of Kalymnos, where you've just got these tiny caves everywhere, except here the caves are not tiny.